What's going on? This is Full Throttle Freedom, and today I want to show you the simple task of adjusting the chain slack on your motorcycle. Before we begin, I wanted to talk about why setting your chain slack is so important. So first of all, if the chain's too loose, you're going to have a lot of chain noise. Most obviously, the chain could come right off the sprocket, and then it could cause rider injury or damage other parts, and there's an inefficient transmission of power. On the other hand, if the chain's too tight, it can cause increased sprocket and chain wear. It can make the rear suspension feel stiff and rigid. It will make the engine work harder, and you could lose control of the motorcycle, or worse, the chain could full on just snap. Okay guys, the plan today is to make this as quick and painless as possible, so let's just jump right into it. First of all, grab your supplies. You're gonna need a socket for the proper axle nut size. Okay, grab yourself some pliers, a screwdriver, a hammer, get yourself a tape measure, you're definitely gonna need it. And if you have a cotter pin like I do, I'd recommend just getting a cotter pin set. But let's jump into it, guys. So let's pull off this cotter pin here. Okay, next thing is loosening off the axle nut. So I'm going to take my breaker bar and socket, and I'm just going to crack this. Okay, next you're going to notice that there are two nuts. This one is going to be your lock nut, and this one's your adjusting nut. So we're going to just back off the lock nut so that we can turn this freely. Okay, and the other side. Okay, and you'll notice that there's these little notches on the swing arm, and then there's that one line on the actual axle. So those are going to line up. So you can see right now, mine is set to about 2. Okay, and there's that other side that's also set to about 2. The next step is to find the tightest spot in the chain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin the wheel here, and I'm just going to feel where that tightest spot is. Okay, let's do our first measurement. So I'm going to pick this link here, and I'm going to first measure between the swing arm and that link, which is coming out to about 46 millimeters. And then I'm going to move the chain up like this. Okay, I'm going to measure again. Okay, and I'm getting approximately 15 millimeters. I should note that if you pick the top of the chain for your first measurement, your second measurement also needs to be from the top of the chain. And same thing, if you pick the bottom of the chain, you'd measure your first to the bottom of the chain, and your second to the bottom of the chain. Spec on my bike is anywhere between 35 to 45 millimeters. And if I did my math right, 46 minus 15 is going to be 31, which means that this chain is actually too tight. So I'm going to back off the adjuster here. Okay, and the other side. Okay, and we'll measure again. Okay, this time I'm getting 55 for the lower measurement, and about 14 for the upper measurement. Okay, so 55 minus 14 is going to be 41, so a little bit on the looser side of the range, but it's definitely still in spec, so we're going to keep it as it is. Okay, and finally we're going to reassemble the wheel. So first thing, we're going to readjust these lock nuts here. Okay, nice and tight. Okay, and before we tighten that axle nut, let's just take one last look at the notches. So you can see this one's slightly ahead of the second notch, and the other side of the bike is slightly ahead of the second notch. So I think we're going to be pretty good right there. Okay, now we're going to torque down our axle nut on my 2004 ZX10R. it's coming out to 81 foot-pounds. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and finally we're going to take our cotter pin, we're going to slide it through. And then we're just going to bend it into place. And your finished product should look something like this. Now you know how to check and adjust the chain slack on your motorcycle. Thanks for watching and be sure to ride safe.